Hi, this is Leanne Werner, author and speaker on dysfunctional family. Haven't made a video in a bit because I've actually been going through a rough time with a lot of transitions and moving and starting a new job, moving away from my adult children. And it really affected me. It surprised me how much it affected me. And I was experiencing anxiety and depression, and it really took a lot of work on my part, and therapy and talking to a therapist, psychiatrist, and a psychologist to help myself and kind of get back on even footing again, because I was really out of balance, really off center. And just, I guess the surprising thing for me was that I could not get myself over it. And I've been able to do that in the past, and I could not do that this time without help. And that really surprised me. So I did want to talk about that a little bit, because just for example, Stephen Boss, the DJ and dancer that was on Ellen, and how he took his life via suicide, and that was so unexpected. And there's other examples of people like that who've taken their life unexpectedly. And because of the depressive episode that I went through recently, I have a whole new understanding of how that happens. And it's about, being in a place where you are so depressed, and you can still appear normal. You can still seem normal to most people. Maybe the people who know you the most know that something's wrong. But for the most part, people on the street or at the grocery store or whatever, they're not going to know that you're in that kind of depressed state. But anyway, I was just thinking, there are a lot of people, or there are people who their loved ones have taken their lives. And I would imagine they're thinking, my father took his own life, and my mother attempted it. So I do know what I'm talking about. And you think, if they had loved me, if they had cared, they would have not taken their life. And that's just not how the person who takes their life is thinking of it. One, they're not in their right mind. It may seem like they're okay, but they're not. Coming from my own bit of depression, you really aren't in your right mind. You're not thinking clearly. You're not thinking logically. And I can just really relate to these people who have taken that step to end their life. And it's because they are so uncomfortable in their mind and in their body. They just want out. They want out. They need relief from that pain. And that's why they do it. And they're not really thinking about their loved ones. I mean, they may, but it's not enough to keep them from doing it a lot of times, because that's how great the pain is. And that's how uncomfortable you can be. Now, I wasn't depressed so much as to where I would be suicidal, but even the amount of depression that I had, I get it. It's terrible to bear. And it just brought me this greater understanding. And if you've watched my other videos, I've done a lot of healing work on myself to get over my dysfunctional family. And this latest episode really took me off guard. I was really surprised by it, in that I was so anxious. I was very depressed. I could not pull myself back together. It was just shocking to me, and still is. And so that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I'm sure I know other people are in this kind of place. And then I know there are other people who've had family members who have taken their lives, and it's heartbreaking, and they don't understand. And so I'm just giving a little perspective on when you're in that depressed state, you're really not thinking. I mean, you think about your family and friends, but the majority thought, at least in my case, and I wasn't severely depressed, I wasn't suicidal, is like, will this uncomfortable pain, this, it's so hard to like breathe and sit and do anything without just feeling like it's just so overwhelming, and your whole body hurts and your mind hurts and there's no relief from it. And that's the really scary part. I think that's what pushes a lot of people to that final bit, is that there's no relief, and you don't know if you're going to be able to get through it. You don't know when or if it's going to get any better. And I think that's where a lot of people end up taking their life. Certainly as adults, as teenagers, I think other things come into play, like lack of impulse control for teenagers, because that doesn't mature in your brain until you're in your 20s. So when you're a teenager and you get some thought in your head, sometimes you act on it before you really consider what you're doing, and that's just poor impulse control. And I know that has probably happened in some cases with teenagers, or in a lot of cases, I don't know. But for me, this was the first time I had felt that uncomfortable within myself, that I understood why people would take that next step. And I'm not saying that's something that you should do or something I would do or would want to do. I'm not advocating for that in any way. I'm just trying to help the people who have lost loved ones to suicide. I have. My father, my mother attempted it. Is just so that you understand that it's not about them not loving you. It's about them ending their pain and suffering, that they don't see a way out of it. They don't see how they're ever going to feel better. So they take that life-ending step, because that's the only way they can get that pain to stop. But there are, if you are thinking about suicide, please, call the hotlines. There's a lot of hotlines, and definitely reach out to someone. Talk therapy did help me, and I did reach out and talk to a therapist, and that does help, and a psychiatrist, in terms of like what treatment options are available for you. I do take medication. It has helped. It has helped me in the past. And this was a much more serious episode of depression than I've ever had before in my life. So still, it's really surprised me, as much healing work as I've done on myself, to have this, that depression happen for me. But I moved away from my family and friends. I moved away from my adult children. I came to a completely different state. I started a new job. It's like, God, why didn't I give myself like a little leeway, like to think that I might have some trouble adjusting? But I really did not consider it. But boy, oh boy, did I have some trouble adjusting. But I have gotten over the hump. I do feel better. My family and my husband and my children were so supportive, and I appreciate that, and that makes a huge difference. And I appreciate the fact that I could see a psychiatrist, I could talk to a psychologist, I could get medication. So I threw everything at it, because you don't want to live like that. I didn't want to live like that. It's very uncomfortable, and I really feel for people who are struggling with depression and anxiety every day, because it's not fun, and there's little relief from it at times, but you do eventually get there if you are getting the help. And I just wanted to mention these few things, and I hope if you are struggling that you are getting help, and that you will reach out for help, and you will talk to your family about how you are feeling, because there is help available to you. So do reach out. I hope you guys are all doing well, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.